Could you please state your name for the record?
Oh, sure. My name is Christopher Leblanc.
When and where were you born?
I was born here in Houston, Texas in 1972.
How did your family get to Texas?
Well, both my mother and father's family are natives of the state of Louisiana, and my mother family is from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and my father's family side of the family is from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, and they both moved here at very young ages.
What do you remember about your childhood?
I just remember growing up, I have one sister and I have several cousins, and I just remember growing up and playing with them, riding our bicycles all over North Houston from sunup to sundown, as well as going to visit family that still lived in Louisiana. We'd go visit them at least once a month. So traveling to Louisiana all the time is something I remember. Driving in that car with those 2 hours to Lake Charles felt like it was 2 days as a kid. Also, I remember my father had his own business, and he was well known throughout our neighborhood, our community, and he fixed everyone's car. He had his own mechanic shop, so he was known as Big Chris, and I was known as Little Chris.
Did your parents discuss race or racism with you?
Yes, they did actually. As being born in the early 1970s, I remember one incident in particular where my grandmother worked at a local cafeteria in our community. She was fair skinned, blonde hair, light colored eyes, and the only way she was able to get the job was that she had to tell the owners that she was white. That was the only people who were allowed to work in the cafeteria at that time. So when we would come and visit her, my dad and my mother had to make it clear to my sister and I that when we would go inside the store to the cafeteria section to visit my grandmother, we'd have to call her Miss Georgia, which is her first name, and not call her Grandma, because if the management found out that these two little black kids had a white grandmother, it would just cause a lot of problems for her, and she could have possibly lost her job.
What kind of interactions did you have with people not of your racial background?
I had a pretty good or a relationship or background with people of non-African American descent. My best friend from elementary school, he was white, as well as a neighbor who lived two houses away from us, who was my age, and we were in the same classrooms. He was white as well, so we played all the time, and of course other friends who were Hispanic, and so I've had a great multicultural relationship with growing up with friends from elementary all the way through high school, well, college, I should say.
What notable moment in American history sticks out the most in your memory?
I would actually have to say the terrorist attack on September 11th of 2001. Where was I and how I responded at that time was actually I was taking my car in for scheduled maintenance one morning on my way to work, and as I dropped off the car, I walked inside to grab a cup of coffee in the guest room where you wait for your shuttle to come pick you up and drop you off at work, or just the waiting room, I should say. Everyone was huddled around a big, large screen TV, and it was at least 30, 40 people. I couldn't see what was going on, but I knew something had happened, whether it was the president had been shot or something happened, whether it was locally or national or globally. So anyway, as I walked in, found out that there was a plane that flew into one of the twin towers in New York City, and as we were watching that building burn, building two, we actually saw the second airplane fly into building two, tower number two, and that's when we knew, as getting more information throughout the next 10 to 15 minutes, that it was a possible terrorist attack that happened on U.S. soil. So after leaving there and actually going to work everyone was in a real somber mood, crying, checking on family and friends who lived in the New York area. And our management team told us we can go home and take care of our family affairs because we didn't know what was going to happen next, whether other other parts of the United States would get bombed after that or what. But the next day in coming into work, everything had changed as far as security in our parking garage and even in our buildings where we needed security clearance, access cards, photo IDs, anything you can imagine with heightened security because we didn't know what was to happen next. So that's how we responded, and I also can't mention enough about how security at in the airports that really changed dramatically here in the United States, where it was commonplace in other countries, but United States now we may take 20, 30 minutes going through security just to get inside of the terminal. That really changed our lives.
What advice would you give to young people today?
What advice I would give to young people today is there's so much knowledge at your fingertips. And what I mean by that is with your smartphone, you can pick up your phone. If you wanted to know, if you want to know anything, basically, you can just Google it and just do a search for it. It's encyclopedia is at the tip of your, it's in your fingertips. Anything you want to know about what's going on in 1812 or in 2012 or even today, anything you want to know is at your fingertips and it's free of charge with the World Wide Web. Anything you need to know for your class, anything you need to know, even with your own history of your family, you can get it at your fingertips. Or if it's not there, uh, just reaching out to just doing another type of search in the search engine. You can find whatever you want to know, even if it's classroom related or family related.
What made you choose TSU?
Well, I chose Texas Southern because, well, for one thing, being born and raised here in Houston, I heard of Texas Southern, but I first came to the campus my senior year in high school for a big track meet, the TSU Relays. Ran the track meet here, and I was just in awe of thousands of people on the infield and 10,000 people in the stands, just having a great time. But I had committed to another university, actually in Louisiana, to go on an academic and athletic scholarship. But 2 weeks to a month before the fall semester of my freshman year in college was to start, the track coach Dave Bethany here at Texas Southern reached out to me one last time to see if I was interested in coming to Texas Southern and being a member of the Flying Tiger track and field team. So I told him, okay, why not? So I came by. He gave me a tour of the campus. I talked with some academic officers and who told me about the School of Business. And I said, you know what? With the rich history and tradition of the track team, with the Olympians, all NCAA All Americans, as well as the ranking of the School of Business here at Texas Southern, I thought, why not? And so I then changed my intentions to the school in Louisiana to here at Texas Southern.
What did you study?
I studied accounting in the School of Business here.
What would you identify as Who would you identify as important teachers, role models, or significant figures you encountered?
Significant teachers, role models, I would actually have to say Dr. Thomas F. Freeman, the founder of our world renowned debate team. He has since retired, but his legacy lives on throughout the university, as well as our honors program being renamed Dr. Thomas F. Freeman Honors Program. He has shaped and molded the minds of thousands of students here at Texas Southern, as well as Martin Luther King, and of course our very own Mickey Leland and Barbara Jordan. He's taken young African American students from low income families, taking them around the world to compete in forensic competition or debate competitions, and we've beat Ivy League schools such as Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and even schools in international companies from as far as Czechoslovakia to South America to Russia, and the geographical destinations go on. So he has been a huge influence in my life, as just sitting there listening to him at commencement speakings, at Founders Day, and actually running into him over in the school, in the College of Education where his office is located, and just overhearing him talking to his students and watching videos of them really made a profound influence on my education here at Texas Southern.
How did it prepare you for where you are now?
It prepared me as far as leadership, as when I graduated from high school, I was this quiet, behind the scenes, never wanted to get into any type of leadership position. I just followed the crowd. But as I became a student here at Texas Southern, by being on the track team, as well as being influenced by Dr. Thomas F. Freeman, it helped me grow and wanted to be a part of organizational programs here, student government, Black Male Initiative, and even go out to compete for Mr. TSU, which at the time had a different name. It was the Positive Black Male Competition. In placing in that, as well as being a 4-year team captain of our track team, it helped me become in leadership positions that I have taken once I graduated from Texas Southern and out into corporate America, where I was right after college.
What memories stick out most?
What memories stick out most while being a student here at TSU is actually while in student government, we actually had to fight. We actually had to fight because there were times where we were told the University of Houston wanted to consolidate and have Texas Southern merged with them. So we fought, we protested, we did marches and rallies, petitions to make that cease to exist. And you still hear those ramblings today, but that goes on and sometimes we'll always hear those talks, but a strong unified alumni base as well as student base will make sure that that doesn't happen, as well as key individuals in the state legislature that will prevent that from happening. Now, also the same things in the state of Mississippi, where we got on buses and traveled to Jackson, Mississippi, the state capital, to lock arms hand in hand with students from Mississippi Valley State University who almost had their campus, or their university, I should say, closed. And we fought with their student government and marched to the state capitol and said that we will not allow this to happen under our watch. So those events really stick out to me the most as being a student here at Texas Southern to help make a change.
Were there any significant moments in U.S. history that you recall experiencing while you were at TSU?
What significant moments that happened while I was here at TSU is I do remember the O.J. Simpson trial that happened that really captured everybody's attention here due to uh, race relations and whatnot. I remember the televisions in the student center, as well as other buildings, were all turned to the news channels to listen for the outcome of the verdict from the from the jury, and how that changed. Local and national media reporters were here to get our responses, and I remember being interviewed for what my response or how I felt about the verdict, and that's what I really remember the most as something being a national incident that happened that while I was here at the university.
Describe campus then compared to what it's like now.
Oh, campus in the early 90s to where it is now is very different. We had at the time, Texas Southern, probably over 10,000 students, and we were the second largest HBCU behind Howard University in Washington, D.C. And I just remember all of the concerts we had on campus, the student debates that we had on the footsteps of the Student Center, as well as just all of the different activities with the DJs, which are now just now being allowed to come back on campus now through President Rudley, as well as just a lot of the students were unified and on the same page as far as we go to class, we'd study, but we also had a great time with parties in the cafeteria, as well as just hanging out at the student center with thousands of students every day. And that's what I remembered about my matriculation here at Texas Southern, of just being a one large campus family, with the student center being that area where we would unite and actually make change.
Do you think HBCUs are important and why?
Yes, I think historically black colleges and universities are very crucial and important to the United States, and even I can't even just say the United States, but worldwide, because uh, this university, as well as all the other 104, if I'm not getting it wrong, all of us collectively that make up HBCUs, we graduate and put out the most black pharmacists, lawyers, um, physicians, attorneys, and other high-paying salary positions, professionals, I should say. Whether you're here getting your undergraduate degree, or at a HBCU getting your undergraduate degree, or your professional degree, as far as your your Juris Doctorate or your medical degree, HBCUs have proven statistically and with facts that they put out the highest number of minorities in those different disciplines, therefore making it a proven fact that HBCUs are still prevalent in 1917 or in 2017.
What building holds the most memories for you?
What building holds the most memories to me is actually the first one. I have two. One is actually not a building. It is the Alexander Durley track and field stadium, where I actually spent every day practicing and honing my craft as being a member here of the Flying Tigers track and field team, where I would actually go out and make sure all of my teammates did their workout, as well as, of course, me doing mine, and traveling the most I've ever traveled. I can recall, because of being here on the track team, I was able to fly on an airplane for the first time as a college student up to the state of Iowa for a track meet. And that was something that was very big to me. So I owe it all to my practice day in and day out on our track here at Texas Southern. And of course, on the academic side, it would have to be the now demolished Jesse H. Jones School of Business. It has been rebuilt. There's been a new building that was built in 1997, if I'm not mistaken, that I didn't have the pleasure of the students to enjoy now, but where I learned to be an accountant, where I went to learn how to even file taxes, where we had to do community service and file taxes for the elderly and for low income. That really helped me to be in the position I'm in now as an accountant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.